Welcome to Revenge with Nora. I got the promotion I had been working toward for 3 years. Senior Financial Analyst. My name on the door, a new office with a window, and a raise that finally made my student loans feel like a distant memory. I didn't throw a party. I didn't pop champagne alone. Instead, I did what I always do when something good happens. I called my mother first. She said she was proud of me. She said we should celebrate. She said, "Let's make it a real dinner. The whole family together." Those were her exact words. The whole family together. So I made a reservation at Harlow's, the nicest restaurant in our part of Charlotte. Private dining room, set menu, $60 a plate, and I covered every single seat. My mother, my father, my younger sister Becca, my aunt and uncle who lived 20 minutes away. 7 people, total. I sent the details in the family group chat 3 weeks in advance. I confirmed again the week before. I even texted individually the morning of. Every single one of them said they were coming. My name is Claire Navarro. I'm 31 years old. And if you think this is just a story about a dinner that went wrong, stay with me. Because what happened after that empty table changed everything. I arrived at Harlow's early. Of course I did, I'm always early. I wore the black dress I'd been saving for something worth celebrating. I ordered sparkling water and waited. 6:30 came and went. I texted my mother. "Driving," she replied. I watched the candle on the table burn lower. 6:45. I called my father. Straight to voicemail. 7 o'clock. The server came by for the 3rd time asking if I was ready to order, and I told him, "Just 5 more minutes. They're on their way." He nodded with the specific kind of patience that told me he had seen this before. At 7:15, I ordered by myself. A glass of wine, the salmon, and the strange quiet dignity of a woman sitting alone at a table set for 7. I didn't cry. I was too confused to cry. At 7:40, my phone lit up. A photo. Posted publicly on my sister Becca's Instagram. My mother laughing, her head thrown back the way she only laughs when she's truly comfortable. My father's arm around my uncle. Becca in the center, holding up a glass, eyes bright. The location tag said Rosario's. An Italian place 20 minutes in the other direction. The caption said, "Spontaneous family night, these are the moments." Red heart emoji. 43 likes in the first hour. Not one of them had called me. Not one had texted to say they weren't coming. They had simply gone somewhere else, without me, and posted about it while I sat alone at a table I had paid for. I paid the bill. All of it. Tipped 30% because the server didn't deserve to lose money over my family's choices. I drove home in silence, and I sat in my parking garage for a while before going inside because I wasn't sure what expression I would make when I finally saw my own face in the mirror. I didn't reach out that night. I turned my phone face down and I went to sleep, which was either the strongest thing I'd ever done or a very good impression of it. By 6 the next morning, my mother had called 4 times. I let them all go to voicemail. I made coffee. I sat at my kitchen counter and looked at my promotion letter, which I had framed and set on the shelf 2 days earlier. Senior Financial Analyst. I read my own name and thought about the girl who used to study under a lamp in a shared bedroom while Becca played music too loud on the other side of the wall. The girl who took out loans her parents said they couldn't help with. Who bought her own work clothes for her first job with a Target credit card. Who never asked anyone to carry anything she could carry herself. I played the first voicemail. My mother's voice was softer than usual. Not gentle, my mother doesn't really do gentle but quieter. The kind of quiet that happens when someone needs something. "Claire, I know you're upset, and I understand that, but something came up last night and we need to talk to you about it. It's important. Please call me back." Something came up. The phrase sat in my chest like a stone. I called her back at 9. She answered on the first ring, which told me she had been holding the phone. "Thank goodness," she said. "Claire, I'm glad you called." I didn't say anything. I let the silence work. "We are so sorry about last night," she started, but before I could process whether she meant it, My father's voice came in from somewhere nearby, already louder than the conversation needed to be. He must have been on speaker. "We'll explain everything, but first we need to talk about your sister." And there it was. Always Becca. From the time Becca was 15 and cried her way out of every consequence, to the time she dropped out of her second college and my parents reframed it as her being a free spirit. Always Becca, who was now 27 and had somehow still never been required to figure things out on her own. "What about Becca?" I said. My mother took a breath. "She's in some financial trouble. It came to a head last night, actually, which is why we all got together to try to figure out a plan. We should have called you. We know that. You were at Rosario's." A pause. "Yes. Having dinner. It started as a conversation, and then Claire, that's not the point right now." I almost laughed. It wasn't the point that my family had relocated my celebration dinner to a different restaurant for a different reason, for a different daughter. It wasn't the point that they posted photos. It wasn't the point that not one of them had sent a single word to the woman sitting alone at a table she had reserved and paid for. "What do you need?" I asked. My voice was very flat. My father cleared his throat. "Becca took out a personal loan about 8 months ago. She told us it was for a certification program. It wasn't. She's behind on payments and the interest has compounded. If she doesn't make a significant payment in the next few weeks, it goes to collections and affects her credit for years." I waited. "We were hoping," my mother said carefully, "that you might be able to help. Just a bridge. You've been doing so well, with the new salary coming in, and Becca really is trying to get on her feet. You know how much she looks up to you." The part of me that had spent 31 years being the dependable one, the responsible one, the one who showed up, that part of me felt the familiar pull. The old instinct to say yes before I'd even thought about it, because saying yes was easier than the conversation that followed a no. But I thought about the empty table. The candle I'd watched burn down alone. My salmon. My one glass of wine. My 7-place setting with 6 empty chairs. "How much?" I said. My mother said the number. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "I need a few days to think." They both started talking at once, my mother reassuring. My father already edging toward pressure. I said, "I'll call you back," and I ended the call before either of them could find a foothold. I did not call back for 4 days. What I did instead was go to work. I sat in my new office with my name on the door, and I did my job, and I let myself feel, for the first time in a long time, like someone who had earned exactly where she was standing. My colleagues brought me a small cake on Tuesday. My manager stopped by to tell me the executive team had specifically cited my Q3 analysis in a board meeting. I went to lunch with a friend from the office named Rosa, who ordered us both a glass of wine in the middle of the day because she said promotions deserved at least one unplanned Wednesday celebration. I told Rosa what had happened at Harlow's. She set down her glass and looked at me with the expression of someone trying very hard not to say the first thing that came to mind. Then she said, "Claire, they posted it on Instagram." "They did? While you were sitting there?" "While I was sitting there." Rosa shook her head slowly. "And now they want money. Now they want money." She raised her glass. "Then I hope you ordered the good salmon." On Thursday morning, my phone rang again. Not my mother this time, Becca. She never called me. We texted occasionally, surface-level things, birthday acknowledgements, the odd meme. An actual phone call from Becca meant the situation had been escalated up the chain and she had been dispatched. I answered. "Hey," she said. She sounded younger than 27, which she often did when she wanted something. "Can we talk?" "We're talking. I mean, look, I know things have been weird. Mom told me you're upset about dinner, and I get it, honestly I do. I should have texted you, that was wrong." She said it the way people apologize when they want the apology to function as a receipt so they can move on to the actual transaction. "But Claire, I'm really in a bad spot here. This isn't like before, this is serious." Everything with Becca was serious, in the moment. The dropped classes, the job she quit after 3 months, the roommate situation, the certification program that turned out to be a loan spent on other things. All of it was always serious, and all of it had always found some resolution that required other people's resources. I know it's serious, I said. I can hear that. So you'll help? I didn't say that. Her voice shifted. Not angry yet, but heading there. Claire, you just got promoted. You have money right now. I just need help getting through this one thing, and then I swear I'm going to get everything sorted. You've said that before, Becca. This time is different. I had heard that too. I said, I love you. I'm not going to help with this. The silence on her end lasted long enough that I thought she might hang up. Then she said, so you're just going to let me drown over one dinner? This isn't about the dinner, I said, even though we both knew the dinner was part of it. It's about the fact that every time there's a consequence in your life, someone else absorbs it. Mom and Dad can't keep doing it. I won't start. Mom and Dad would help if they could. I know, I said. And I did know. The three of them had always been a unit in that way. Becca's problems becoming everyone's emergency, the logistics of managing her life spreading outward like water finding every available crack. You're being selfish, she said. Something settled in me at that word. Not anger, more like recognition. Maybe, I said. I've spent a long time being the opposite. I think I'm okay with trying this for a while. I got off the call and I sat at my kitchen table for a long moment. Then I opened my laptop and I wrote an email to my landlord about renewing my lease for another year. Then I transferred a specific amount of money into my personal savings account. It was the amount my mother had asked for, plus a little more, because I wanted to see it sitting there. Not to hold over anyone. Just to look at and know that it was mine, that I had built it, that no emergency that wasn't my own would reach it. My aunt called over the weekend. She was gentler about it than my mother, more careful with her phrasing, but the ask was the same. She said she hoped I wasn't going to let pride get in the way of family. I said I appreciated her calling. I said I had made my decision. She said she hoped I would reconsider. I said I hoped she'd have a good rest of her Sunday, and I meant it. What I noticed during those weeks was how much time I had. When you're not managing other people's crises, when you're not on standby waiting for the next emergency call, there's an extraordinary amount of your own life available to you. I started going to a Saturday morning yoga class. I had dinner with Rosa twice. I drove out to see a friend from college who lived 2 hours away, and we stayed up until midnight talking about nothing important, and I slept better that night than I had in months. 3 weeks after Harlow's, I made a decision. I had been taking photos of my office since the promotion, the view from my window, the coffee mug Rosa had given me that said she believed she could, so she did, in a font that should have been embarrassing but wasn't, the tiny succulent on my desk. One afternoon I put them together with a photo of my offer letter, name clearly visible, and I wrote a caption that I had been turning over in my mind for days. It was simple. It said, "Built this by showing up for myself every single day. Gratitude looks like protecting what you've earned. Tagging nobody. Just posting it and putting my phone in my desk drawer." By the time I checked an hour later, the response was not what I expected. People from work, people I'd known in college, even a few people I barely remembered from high school, all of them writing things like "so deserved," and "this is everything," and "you have inspired me today." One woman I had never met, who had found the post through a mutual connection, sent me a direct message that said she was going through something similar with her own family and that reading my words had made her feel less alone. I had not intended the post as a message to my family. But of course they saw it. Of course they knew. And of course, the following morning, my mother's text arrived. It said, "I saw what you posted. People are asking me questions. Take it down, Claire. You're embarrassing us." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. "I sat alone at a table I reserved for 7 people and no one came. You posted that night too. I don't remember you worrying about embarrassing me." She did not respond to that. My father called. He said I was being vindictive. I said I had posted a photo of my office and a sentence about hard work. He said I knew what I was doing. I said, "Yes, actually, for the first time in a long time, I really did." He hung up. I made dinner, a real one, with the good pasta and a glass of the wine I'd been saving, and I ate it at my own kitchen table while a playlist I liked filled the apartment. The weeks that followed were quieter than I expected. The family group chat, which had once buzzed constantly with logistics and inside jokes, and my mother's forwarded articles, went nearly silent. My name appeared in it once, when my uncle posted a photo from a cousin's birthday I hadn't been invited to. No one tagged me. No one noticed, or no one said anything, which by then felt like the same thing. What I noticed, though, was that I stopped bracing for things. For years, I hadn't realized how much of my energy was spent in a kind of low-level readiness waiting for the next call, the next ask, the next situation that would require me to redirect my own resources towards someone else's problem. When that weight lifted, I didn't know what to do with myself for a little while. And then I did. I signed up for a financial planning course I had been putting off. I called an old mentor and asked her to lunch. I started a small project I had been thinking about for 2 years, a personal finance blog aimed at women in their 30s navigating first promotions and first real salaries, because I had learned some things the hard way and I thought they might be useful to someone. One evening, maybe 6 weeks after the dinner that wasn't, I was sitting at my desk working on a new post when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go. Then something made me answer. It was Becca. She had apparently gotten a new number. She didn't open with an ask. That surprised me. She said, "I don't want anything. I just wanted to say that I've been thinking about what you said." A pause. About consequences. And about how it's not fair that you always absorb them for me. I didn't say anything. "I'm figuring it out," she said. "I got a second job. It's not glamorous. But I'm figuring it out." "I'm glad," I said, and I meant it. "Are we okay?" It was a complicated question. The honest answer was, we might be, eventually, but not yet, because what happened at Harlow's was not an isolated thing. It was a pattern with a history, and histories take longer to work through than a single phone call. But I also heard something real in her voice. Not the performance of the earlier apology, something quieter. "We're working toward it," I said. She said that was fair. We stayed on the phone for another 10 minutes, talking about nothing in particular, and when we hung up it felt like the first conversation we'd had in years that didn't have a transaction buried somewhere inside it. My mother called me on a Sunday, about 2 months after everything. She didn't mention the dinner, or the money, or the post. She asked about my job, she asked about my apartment. There was an awkwardness to it, the specific awkwardness of 2 people finding new coordinates after a shift in terrain. I answered her questions. I asked about her garden, which she had been tending more since she retired. She told me about a tomato situation she was very invested in. Before she hung up, she said, "I'm proud of you, Claire." I should say it more. I thought about all the graduations and benchmarks and ordinary Tuesdays where that sentence would have cost nothing to say. I thought about the table at Harlow's. I thought about the candle. "Thank you," I said. Because it was true that I needed to hear it, and it was also true that it was no longer the thing I was waiting for. That's the part they don't always tell you about this kind of story. The ending isn't a scene where everyone stands in your doorway finally understanding the gravity of what they did. It's quieter than that. It's a Sunday phone call with slightly more honesty than before. It's your sister calling from a new number to say she's figuring it out. It's you, sitting at your desk in the apartment you pay for yourself, working on something you built from nothing, realizing that the validation you spent years hoping would come from a specific direction has quietly been growing all along from the inside. I didn't win by making them lose. I won the moment I decided that the table I sat alone at was the last one. I would set for people who had already shown me they weren't coming. My name is Claire Navarro. I'm a senior financial analyst. I have a succulent named Gerald, a Saturday yoga habit, and a blog that 300 people read each week, which is not a lot, and is also exactly enough. And I have never, not once, I've been more certain that the life I built without anyone's help is the only kind I ever actually wanted.